in even what we would call like a recession, it is not at all the case that people are not spending money, right? Like I was running a painting company with a whole bunch of employees in 2008 and I was in 2009. And I remember very clearly this like October, November 2008 time. In 2009, I grew that business. It's not that people weren't painting houses and buildings whatsoever. They were, just at a lesser scale. So absolutely everything does go on, no matter how bad things get. It just looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not like the hose turns off entirely and the entire economy shuts down. It's just operating at a lesser degree, and you need to adapt to that.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Second piece of advice. So here's a pretty clear action item that if this kind of scenario is on your mind, here's a really good exercise. 2 business plans, 2 budgets. Okay. So ideally, you have a business plan for this year, right? And ideally you have a budget for this year. What you can do though, is you can look at a secondary one where you've got a plan B, both in the business plan and in the budget. So tactically speaking, what changes in the event that certain economic scenarios shift, right?
A lot changes.
Yeah. So when you think about the business plan, some of the real fundamentals like lead flow, what happens if lead flow drops off by 50%? Okay.
Right.
What happens if your closing ratios on estimates, if your closing ratio goes from 60% to 35%, what does that look like?
Yeah, your average job size drops by $5,000. Your cancellation rate goes up. Like there are all these variables where you could see potentially pretty dramatic swings in.
But the nice thing is you can model all of this, right?
Yeah.
If I'm saying I'm planning typically to get 1,100 leads, what does that look like if it's 650 or 700, right? What if our closing ratio off estimates to book jobs is going from 60% to 35%?
Right.
How many jobs are you going to book? Right? What happens if your average job size drops from $4,500 to $3,000? What does this look like for like a year-end revenue perspective? And you can map that out pretty accurately. And then from there, that's what I mean by 2 business plans. And then from there, we can look at a secondary budget, which now you implant that revenue into the new plan B budget. And then within your costs, you say, what can be trimmed, right? And chances are you're going to be able to find a lot if you really come to terms with like, how do you run your business in a most basic level? There's typically a lot of stuff that can be trimmed down. There's where you keep it rolling.
Yeah. I heard one of our members at Winter Summit, his name's Mason Marquis. Shout out Mason. I remember he got asked this question on an expert panel, and he had a lot of great thoughts on it. But one of them was like, I'm very, very clear on who my skeleton crew is, right? And that's sort of like, it's, I don't know, scary language, or it sounds a bit harsh, but it's like, it's true. Like he does know like the players on the team that are absolutely essential versus everyone that he wants to have and would have were things different. But like, these are the project managers, the crew members, need my office manager, maybe this other person, salesperson for sure, all this extra stuff, can't have it. And he's gotten clear on that. And that's what we're saying here is like, get clear on that before you need to enact that plan.
So here's just some important context setting on this front, right? This whole thing is a game of getting to the other side, as I like to call it, right? So this isn't like a time to be improving in the business. It isn't a time to be having high margins, to be making a bunch of money and investing. This is like, how do you get to the other side as conservatively as possible? Right. And in that, there is so much stuff that doesn't need to be done, right? You're not looking for big improvements here. There's people even on the list you said, man, I would say like there's roles like how much is this office manager needed versus how much can people pull up their sleeves and get a bunch of that stuff done
themselves.
Yeah. Do you need to be driving a Platinum F350 diesel around, or will a Prius do for you or for the sales guys? Do you need that big fancy office and warehouse, or can certain roles work from home and the business move into a smaller warehouse, whatever it is? It's like, how much of this stuff, like, what do you need to be happy, to have a good time running your business, to have a good time with crews, a case of beer in a parking lot after work isn't that expensive. Like there's ways to have fun, to have a good time, and to run the business at a baseline level and to be able to last into the long haul.
Yeah, it's not like all you're saying, man, is like it's not about expansion. It's not about growth. It's not about innovation. It is about survival. And it's like when you get to the other side of whatever you want to call this, the meltdown, the chasm, there is going to be, huge opportunity. There's going to be huge market share available for you to capitalize. And then you can get back into the swing of things like you were before. But this time, and we're encouraging you not to look at it as good or bad, just different. But this time, however you want to call it, is about survival fundamentally and not much else.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But there's one important addition. You talk about the chasm. Here's the thing. You don't know how wide that chasm is. Right. That's the fundamental principle.
You can't see it. You're not like, oh, there it is there.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And I want to talk a bit about cash reserves and stuff in a second, but you don't know how long you need to last for. Right. So to play the conservative game and to go right down to weed the garden, so to speak, go right down to the basics where you don't know if it's going to last a year, 2 years, 5 years, 7. But if you're prepared to last 7, and it goes for 3, you're golden. If it goes for 5, you're golden. If it goes for 6, you don't know how wide that chasm is, and that's the thing. So what you find is a lot of the really good leaders and executives, they will go pretty extreme on the trimming very quickly. Why? Because they understand the fact that they don't know how wide that chasm is going to be, and they're right away prepared to last for the long haul if needed in that. And what they know is that the rest of the competition is going to fall off one after the other. After the other, after the other.
Listen, if you like that clip, you can watch the full episode by clicking here. If you're not yet subscribed, you probably should be, and you can do that by clicking right here.